Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her. I don't think people realize how hard it is to get to where she was. For her to be selected as vice president after what I think she would tell you was a very disappointing presidential race, where I think she kind of lost her footing and was listening too much to consultants, frankly.
Vice President Kamala Harris finally addressed the American people in her concession speech. It was after her defeat by President-elect now Trump on Tuesday.
And joy in our fight for America's future. Fight, 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 fight.
All right, guys, it's official, you guys. This is MAGA country now, as President-elect Donald Trump is ready to return to the White House as the 47th president of the United States. God, it does actually feel very good to say that. But before we get to the good stuff here, guys, we need to make sure that we take the trash out. So we got to talk about this. What was up with that antagonistic and borderline militaristic concession speech from soon-to-be former Vice President Kamala Harris? Watch.
And so to everyone who is watching, do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together.
I mean, like, who's despairing? People are celebrating, as far as I know, right, guys? Plus, another thing that they noticed about Harris's concession speech, she used one particular word a lot. Check this one out from Fox. Watch.
Vice President Kamala Harris finally addressed the American people in her concession speech. It was after her defeat by President-elect now Trump on Tuesday. And she did this yesterday. And while she did concede the election, listen to this. There was a word I kept hearing her say over and over and over again, and I want you to hear it too.
And joy in our fight for America's future. Fight, 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 fight. I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Oh, you know, Emily, I was keeping a tally yesterday. I noticed fight, 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 fight. You just heard it there. Another line she used was, we do not owe loyalty to a president or party, but the Constitution of the United States. That is a factually true statement. But it comes in the context of a party saying that we would never vote again if Donald Trump won. We would lose all our civil rights if Donald Trump won. While there were parts of her speech, she said, we'll help with the transition. That was gracious. You could not miss the fight, 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 the dig at Donald Trump. It was not the Hillary Clinton concession speech that indeed was gracious, where Hillary Clinton said, I want Trump to succeed. Hillary said that.
Totally right. And I thought that the second layer to that is that it lacked any bit of specificity in terms of what is she talking about. I thought to myself as I was watching, and look, I'm not saying this to be harsh, but just to be honest, that it sort of smacked of a community college professor speech, maybe even high school rally speech. I was struck by the oversimplification, the total generalization, and the lack of actual substance. I noted to myself that even her behavior, where she would say a line and then erupt into a manic smile as if that would land her the 10.0 from the judges, I was sort of thinking to myself, what are you talking about? What exactly do you mean? Fight for what? Is it the voting restored to the hands of the people? Because that's exactly what just occurred. That's exactly what happened, which is voters owning that sacred right and reclaiming power for themselves instead of the bloat of an administrative state and an over-regulatory state and a corrupt government, all of the things. So I'm not quite sure what injustices or wrongs that she's trying to correct there. Fight for what? And why and how? And I just thought at the end, all it seemed, what I was left with was the feeling I had by the speech, which was one of total angst, rabble-rousing, and conciliatory was nowhere on that list.
Now, one thing is for sure, we the people are now unburdened by what has been, and we're looking forward to what we can be with Donald Trump's presidency once again. And liberal mainstream media just can't take it. MSNBC analyst and former Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill, he was breaking down on national TV. You got to check this out. Watch.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her. I don't think people realize how hard it is to get to where she was. For her to be selected as vice president after what I think she would tell you was a very disappointing presidential race, where I think she kind of lost her footing and was listening too much to consultants, frankly, and it didn't really exude who she was. And then to be vice president and to step into the most difficult situation in the world, where she had to be completely loyal to Joe Biden and respectful of the fact that he had chosen her, but yet maneuver in a situation, I mean, such political skill. It is just inspiring. People who don't understand what she had to do to get to this moment. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just very proud of her.
Then again, I know a lot of people who also broke down in tears after they announced Donald Trump had actually won the presidency. Though, unlike McCaskill, the people I know, they were crying tears of joy. But yeah, Vice President Kamala Harris had to go and ruin it with what critics describe as a very defiant confession speech. Now, apart from her using the word fight, goodness knows how many times, Kamala Harris also told her supporters to never give up. This despite her being the first Democratic nominee to lose the popular vote in 20 years, plus a loss that was so extensive that it extended to congressional defeats and doubts who will lead the party for the next 4 years. She also didn't miss the chance to rehash many of her usual stump lines from the campaign, stuff like a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. You know what I'm talking about, guys? And for what I saw her supporters were just eating it all up. Whatever. The crowd booed as Harris told them that earlier that day, she spoke with President-elect Donald Trump and congratulated him on his victory. But then they cheered when she added, she also told him that they will help him and his team with their transition and that they will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. So they're probably still at least a little bit butthurt over that whole January 6th thing. But the most triggering part here of all of this is where she said that while she concedes this election, she does not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. She continued to say that they will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square, and they will also wage it in quieter ways. So it makes me wonder what they mean by they're going to wage this fight in the courts. She goes on to say in how they live their lives by treating one another with kindness and respect, but looking in the face of a stranger and seeing a neighbor, by always using our strength to lift people up to fight for the dignity that all people deserve. As if Trump supporters were these horrible people incapable of all that, right? You know what I mean, guys? Even before that, Harris had declined to address thousands of shocked supporters who had gathered for an election night watch party at the exact same venue after it became clear that Trump was on course to become the 47th president. But hey, you gotta hand it to President-elect Donald Trump. He knows how to be gracious in his victory, right? So according to his spokesperson, Steve Chung, Trump acknowledged Vice President Harris on her strength, professionalism, and tenacity throughout the campaign, and both leaders agreed to the importance of unifying the country. I mean, I just can't wait to see Donald Trump's agenda in action, including a whole lot of tougher policies on illegal immigration and trade disputes, plus plans on cutting taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits. Our billionaire developer turned politician, President-elect, has vowed to finish off high inflation, allowing for lower interest rates while pulling back on foreign-focused spending with a call for America First in his administration. In fact, they're already talking about rapidly negotiating an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Plus, did you guys hear the Federal Reserve just announced another rate cut right after Donald Trump won the presidency? So already things are looking up, guys. As Trump told his supporters, there's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. He said that he's going to be helping our country heal, and it needs help very badly. He said that he's going to be fixing our borders. He's going to fix everything about our country, and I can't wait to see it, guys. Drop a quick yes in the comments down below and hit the like button, guys. I really appreciate your support. And hey, do not forget to hit the subscribe button to the channel. You're not going to want to miss out on all the latest updates in the upcoming Trump transition of power, plus everything that the Democrats are going to do to try to stop it and hold us back. We may have won, guys, but this does not mean that they've given up. Far from it, in fact. So we need to stay vigilant, and this starts with being informed citizens of America, just like we're doing right here, right now with this video. So let's keep it going, all right? Now, another Kamala question that's making me very suspicious. Why did the soon-to-be former vice president take so long to address her supporters, even when everybody in the world already knew that she lost? Wednesday early morning, Trump was named the victor of the 2024 presidential race, but the Democratic nominee did not speak to her supporters nor encourage them to accept the election results. Two sources confirmed that the Harris campaign was radio silent Wednesday morning and did not provide talking points to the surrogates, donors, or influencers. She did deliver remarks later at Howard University at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, but analysts say that she should not have waited until afternoon after the election to address her base. Now, according to Jonathan Turley, a legal scholar and a Fox News contributor, the true test of leadership is to step forward when it is most needed. He pointed out how half this population is deeply aggrieved by this decision, and that part of that angst and anxiety was fueled by the rage, rhetoric, and panic politics on the left, including the Harris campaign. He also brought how voters were going to the polls. The New York governor declared a majority of voters to be un-American. So yeah, that early Wednesday morning was definitely a time for a Democratic leader to step forward and acknowledge the victory, especially considering that there are no major challenges or questions that the election is over. So what Turley was looking for was Kamala's concession to be more than an afterthought in the late afternoon the following day. He said that it needed to be rendered when it was most needed. Legal analyst Andy McCarthy even went so far as to suggest that what Kamala Harris did, remaining out of sight since the election results, it was a graceless misstep and yet another indication among countless indications that she was neither substantively nor temperamentally up for the presidency. McCarthy added that she is simply being graceless and suggesting that she and her team do not know what to do, even though what to do is obvious. Concede, congratulate the new president, and then pledge to cooperate in an efficient transition. Then again, there are others who say that Kamala Harris was taking her sweet time to recover from the whiplash of being reminded of her doomed campaign in 2019, short-lived and unfocused on key issues important to American voters, at least according to the experts. Tevi Troy, a presidential historian and former senior official in the George W. Bush administration, he even described her campaign as starting with great promise and that there's a sense that she's the savior of the new flavor, the next generation for Democrats, and kind of both failed spectacularly. So yeah, why don't we have a quick look all the way back to 2019 and we see just how similar Kamala Harris's failures really were. This was December 2019. Then Senator Harris suspended her presidential campaign a mere 11 months after joining the race. They said funds were running low and polling numbers just weren't there. And well, shortly after, campaign staffers spilled the tea and began revealing the internal struggles that her team faced. Because see guys, before becoming one of the earlier Democratic candidates to exit the race, Harris started strong with a high energy launch that drew a large crowd in Oakland, California. In fact, she was initially seen as a top tier candidate. Sound familiar, guys? But it gets even more like deja vu because as her campaign continued, her messaging became unclear and faced tough opposition from the then candidate Joe Biden, as well as Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bernie Sanders. Now, according to the presidential historian, Kamala's problems are the same as they were before. Number one is her inability to communicate even the most simplest of ideas to the American people. And it's not because she's not intellectually capable of doing it, it's just because she's in a box. As Troy said, she's trapped. On the one hand, her inclinations and her voters are on the left. And on the other hand, she wants to win the general election and also appeal to people in the general election. She has to renounce the more woke policies that she's exposed throughout her life. Meanwhile, Trump's campaign is like a well-oiled machine. They had Kamala's own words that she had so many far-left San Francisco liberal policy proposals that were all explained by her on camera during the 2020 campaign that they were able to deploy really effectively and target into districts where people have negative views of those. Not to mention the lack of substance from the woman. It really didn't change from the beginning. Voters say that the economy is far and away the top issue that's facing the country, followed distantly by immigration and abortion. But they just just didn't listen to what the American people were saying. That roughly 3 times as many voters feel as if they were falling behind financially as those who feel like they're getting ahead. So yeah, here she is again, conceding a presidential loss. But let me quote another part of Kamala Harris's speech for you guys. The light of Americans' promise will always burn bright as long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting. But this time, it's we the people carrying the light finally. Not the Democratic elites, not the liberal mainstream media. We the people. Now, we gotta stay vigilant, guys. We gotta make sure that our enemies don't do anything sneaky while we're not looking, you know what I mean? Subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell, that way you do not miss out on any of our important updates, guys. I read a book a long time ago, and it basically said something that was really powerful and profound to me, and it said something along the lines of, look at your 5 closest friends, and typically your income is an average of your 5 closest friends. Now, with that being said, I was kind of like thinking, okay, well, how do I find people who made way more than me so I could increase my chances of having a higher income? I mean, it only made sense, right? For less than a cup of coffee a day, for less than $1 a day, join a powerful network of people who are ready to change their lives for the better. And I will be putting a limit on this group, so get in while you can. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. And hey, let me know your thoughts. Do you feel like Kamala Harris and the Democrats have really given up, or should we be on the lookout for any kind of suspicious behavior from those guys? Drop a quick comment down below, guys. And while you're at it, you can also check out our other videos on the channel. I just uploaded a great one discussing New York City Attorney General Letitia James threatening President-elect Donald Trump right after he was announced as the winner. For real, guys, check this video coming out right here. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. I'll see you guys next time.